Okay, so chapter 8, we're dealing with volume. Volume. But the very first section is on cylinders, okay? Hence the popcorn activity, right? Showing you guys how we develop these formulas and what they mean, okay? So the volume, it comes from base times height, right? Comes from the base. And the base of a cylinder is a circle, right? Okay, so here's your picture. So this is where the formula comes from. So you have your picture of your cylinder. You have a base, right? And your base is pi r squared, right? Because that's a circle. And so then you just take that pi r squared and you multiply that times the height, which is h in this picture. Okay, so r is radius, h is height. The formula is volume equals pi r squared times h. So the r squared, or pi r squared, comes from the circle of the base. And that gives us our volume. Anyone have a guess of what the surface area might be? Has anyone ever seen the surface area of a cylinder? Are there one circle or two circles in this picture? Two. So there would have to be a 2 pi r squared in the formula of the surface area. So you're just taking like these pieces, right, and putting them together. But the volume, the inside, is pi r squared h. Any questions on that? Pretty basic? Okay. So example 1. Find the volume of the cylinder. And here's a little picture. This is 8.3. A little arrow pointing to the height for you. This is the radius of 5 centimeters. So this is a real basic example, right? We're just going to take these numbers and plug them into the formula. Okay? So it's pi r squared h. And right now, if you have a calculator or a phone calculator, I want you to plug it in. We're going to do like a calculator check. And I want to make sure that you get this answer that I got. Remember, you want to plug in your r first, square it, then multiply by pi and the number. So check your calculator and your phone calculator if you have it. And if you don't get it, just let me know and I'll help you figure out what you're doing wrong.
But you already used the answer.
Yeah, but I want you to plug it into your calculator and see if you get the same thing. Because about 90% of the errors on this test are calculator error. These people don't know how to plug it in. Most of you can identify the radius and you can identify the height, but you don't know how to put it in your calculator. So remember, if you turn your phone sideways, you get the pi symbol. Yeah?
I got something totally different.
What'd you get?
1,884.9555.
Okay, so you multiplied something by 5 first. So do 5 squared, which is what? What's 5 squared, everybody? 25. Now take 25 and multiply that by pi, and then multiply that by 8.3. Or you can do 8.3 and then pi. Doesn't matter. But you have to square that number first. And see now if you get it.
207.5.
You did 25 times...
8.3.
Okay, what's 25 times 8.3?
207.5.
Okay, now hit times pi. And then hit equals.
I got 651.9.
Bingo. What was your question, Bryce?
I got 651.8.
Maybe your calculator's rounding for you?
Did you round on yours? 'Cause
Yeah.
6 point, or
Actually, this I took from the book, so they probably rounded.
It's 8.
Okay, so they rounded up to the 10th. And a lot of times it'll say round to the 10th. Is there anyone who's still getting something different? Yeah.
Why did you write cube?
Volume is always cubed. Here you go.
Oh.
Haha. If you want to write that down, volume is always cubed. Good question. I was ready for that. Any other issues with calculators?
This stupid thing isn't turning.
Oh, you turn off your lock thing on the bottom. Slide up. Slide up.
Okay.
And then see the lock?
Oh.
There you go. Yeah.
I got 651.55.
It's round. Did you do 3.14 or hit pi? I think you did 3.14. Yeah. But if you hit pi, it's going to go bigger, right? Because those numbers keep going.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So I think most of you are getting it. As we do practice, I'll come around and help you with calculator stuff. Okay.
There's no pi on here.
Max Shower. All right. So here's another one for you. Example 2. This one is different because it's giving you this whole piece right here, which is called the diameter, right? So you have to know what the radius is. How do you know what the radius is when you're given the diameter? Divide by 2. You know this. Okay, so check that in your calculator. Make sure you get that one. Did you find pi, Allie?
I got it wrong. I got 3.14.
Good. Did you find the pi button?
Oh, yeah.
Is this
Great.
a 90 or 20?
That's a 20. I put these underlined under 8 to remind you that that's radius, right? Half of 16. I think you guys probably got hammered on that in 7th grade. They probably told you a million times, right? Hopefully.
Yep.
Good.
There's a little squiggly thing on the pi that you don't put when you're writing it.
I know. I don't. Would you like me to?
No, that's why I think I was like confused. It doesn't matter.
Okay, there it is. You like that better?
No, it's
Oh.
on the bottom. Or
Really?
It's the 2 things.
Huh. Okay. Did you get it? No. What'd you get?
No, why did you put 8 instead of
It's the radius, not the
you can divide by 2?
Which equals 8.
That's half.
Look at all these teachers in here.
How come on number 1 though you put 5?
Because I was given the radius. This one I was given the whole piece.
Oh.
Oh.
So a mistake.
Tricky, tricky. These math books, huh? Okay, does anybody did anyone get something weird and they don't know why? Yeah.
I got 3.14.
Press equals.
I got 3.14.
Do 8 squared.
I did. Wait. This is confusing.
8 squared. 8 times 8.
Square 8 times 2.
8 times 8.
Oh.
Okay. Are we good?
No, that probably wouldn't help.
All right.
You do times 20?
Yeah, so 64 times 20 and then hit times pi and then press equals.
Times pi? Where did that come from?
Pi. Okay, last thing. Last thing. This is why we practice, okay? All right, there's this other thing that you have to do, and you do a lot more of this in Math 8 than you did in 7th, and they're called composite figures or solids. And that's where you take 2 shapes and you kind of put them together. Okay, so if you cannot draw this,
Oh my gosh.
if you're like, I cannot draw that, and you want a picture of it, I can tell you where it's from in your book. It's from page, this problem is on
How long did this take you to draw?
page 592. Not very long, but I've been doing this a long time. If you want a picture of that and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to cut that out and glue that in later, then do that. But if you can draw it, just draw it. All right? So basically we have like a rectangular prism, and then there's this half cylinder on the top. Okay? Kind of like, do you guys, I don't have one of these because I have a mailbox with all those boxes in it. But does anyone have an old mailbox that's kind of that shape?
Yeah.
I do.
Okay, so like the old ones, they were all like a rectangular prism with a half cylinder. Now we all have like this lockbox, you go to and you get your mail out of.
And we share with our other neighbors.
Yeah, all the neighbors kind of have like one box. Okay, so what we have to do whenever we find the volume of these composite figures is we have to basically find the volume of each shape and then add them together. Do you remember doing this in 7th grade?
No.
You might have done it more with area in 7th grade, where you had maybe a house. It was like a square with a rectangle, and you had to find the area of the two when you add them together. You did these. So let's find the volume of this rectangular prism. Okay. So do you guys remember how to find the volume of a box? With the formula? Length times width times height.
Oh.
So you were close. Area would just be length times width. Okay, so the volume of the prism, I'm just calling it a prism. It's a rectangular prism if you want to get real detailed here, is 30 times 25 times 50. So you should get 37,500. It's big, right? Okay. That's the volume. And I guess if you really wanted to be technical, put centimeters cubed. I'm kind of running out of space, but you could do that. So that gives me this whole piece. And now I want the cylinder. So we have our volume of our cylinder, right? It's pi r squared h. But we have to cut that in half, because see how it's only half a cylinder? You guys see that? So we take the volume of the cylinder, which is pi. Where did I get 12.5 from?
I have no idea.
Who knows? How did I get 12.5 from our radius? How, Imani?
That's half the length.
Good, half of the 25. Can you see it there? That's the diameter, right? So half would be 12.5. Does everyone see that now? Okay. And then we multiply that times 50. Okay? Why not 30? Why not the 30? Is 30 any part of the cylinder here? No, 50 is, right? You can see there's 50 here, so there's 50 right there. Okay? So you have to be able to kind of visualize these 3D shapes. So after you plug all that in, you get 12,272. I rounded up to the ones. Then you add them together. You add the two shapes. Oh, by the way, divide by 2, right? So you get something like approximately 49,772 centimeters cubed. This is the hardest thing that we'll ask you to do. I think you can handle it, though. You're going to take your knowledge of all the formulas that you've learned and then look at your three-dimensional shape and try to figure out which one's the height, which I showed you right there is 50. And then plug that all into the formula and add them. Okay? So we have a prism, half of a cylinder, add them together, and that's what you get. Are there questions? Nothing major? Okay. The practice that we are going to do in class, and this is where I want you guys to, if you have those calculators, to try to figure out. It's written on the board. It's 7, 8 problems. Once you finish that, we're going to go over it, but if you want to start your homework, that's fine too. Your homework's only 5 problems. Okay?